Hey, and welcome to my third Ableton tutorial video. I use Ableton for DJing a lot, so I figured this third one I would show a nice method that I've come across for DJing in Ableton Live. I should note that this is pretty much just a method for emulating your classic two-deck DJ setup in Ableton. I wouldn't recommend using just this setup in a performance. There's a lot of things you can do with Ableton Live if you get creative with it. But this is just kind of a basic skeleton to get you started mixing tracks on Ableton. So the first thing you want to do is set up a kind of template. This is what I do. You want to get all of your effects and everything set up so that you can copy and save that template, and so you can have multiple sets. And you can see what I mean as I explain. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to create two audio tracks, and I'm going to need one. Okay. I'm going to name this one. Now these guys are pretty much represent the turntables in a traditional setup. It's kind of, a lot of DJs get really kind of confused by all this because it's kind of like you combine the audio source with the mixer in this case. So you have these tracks and these are your decks, and this is the mixer for each one, the fader, volume fader for each one. A lot of times I like to have two of each of these and have everything mapped to the same knobs and stuff in my MIDI controllers, so that I pretty much have twice the space to store tracks on each deck, but for these purposes we just do the two. Since this is all that's going to be in your session, you can make this really wide. I'm actually just delete that for now. So you're going to need to kind of decide your own kind of standard effects rack, but I found just the most basic thing you definitely need for DJing is an equalizer, and that's pretty much it. Beat repeats are nice. Go ahead and throw that one on there. Turn them off. I think we'll just complicate with that. So now I'll load turntable deck as a beat repeater, which just grabs slices of audio and repeats them over intervals, and then an equalizer so you can cut out different bands of frequencies, which is very important for DJing. So now I'm just going to duplicate that deck. So now we have two of the same decks, so we have two effects. Rename that to deck B. And two identical tracks with effects racks, deck A and B. In order to be able to use the crossfader in Ableton, I actually need to tell it this is deck A, this is deck B. So now this guy over here fades in between deck A and B. So now you're pretty much ready to get some tracks going, but first what I like to do is save this as an empty Ableton Live template that you can just copy in with your Explorer later, and then rename it and use it to use over and over again for all your sets, so you're not going through and setting up your decks every time you want to start a new DJ set. If there's any default settings you like, it's best to save those now so that they get duplicated whenever you make a new template. I like to leave my quantize on 1/8. I'm going to set it to, we'll leave it at 120. Then, once you're happy with everything, you're going to want to save it as, so DJ template. There we go. Now, when you actually want to go make a set, you would open that DJ template file. It's already open. I'm just explaining to you guys. And then go to Save Live Set As. So now we just duplicated this Ableton live set, and the tutorial will not change no matter what you do with this one. Or the template file will not change no matter what you do with this one. So now you can start loading some tracks in. Here. My Ableton already has these set in, so it has already processed them. When you drop in new tracks, it's going to need to process. But that just takes a second. One good thing to note is that a lot of time when Ableton goes and looks at your tracks, it sets the initial play marker automatically, and a lot of times it's wrong. So here's a great example. Ableton's clock is actually going to think that the start of the song is this far in, and that's not what we want. All your timing will be completely off. So anytime you pull in a new track, make sure to go check and see that it's the play marker, or the number 1 marker is set in the right place. And to change that, you just right-click where you need and say set 1.1.1 here, and that labels that as the beginning of that track. Other than that, everything's pretty easy. You want to usually have your warp setting to beats. It's usually the best for doing kind of dance music and stuff. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow you to change the tempo up here and not really affect the pitch of the song. So, a little loud. And I'm going to go ahead and just leave this. So now I can actually, the tempo of this track it read is 144.75, which is what my global is at. Now if I change my global tempo, make it faster, Ableton plays with the beats warp setting, Ableton plays it faster without actually changing the pitch. And that it's pretty nice most of the time, but it can cause some problems. A lot of people like to use repitch, which that's going to make it act more like a traditional CDJ or turntable. If the BPM of the global Ableton is higher or lower, you're going to get a pitch bend. So that's why I kind of generally recommend using beats as your default. As you know, Ableton quantizes everything, so you need to make sure that a lot of these warp markers are on the places where the drops that you want are. Mostly DJing with Ableton is just all preparation. Lots of preparation, and it makes for a nice, easy set when you actually play it live. Cue points, the way I do cue points is I generally just set the play marker right there, or wherever I want the cue point to be. It'll play from there. If I want to have multiple cue points, I generally just duplicate the track and set a different cue point, and a lot of times I'll rename it and say beginning. So that you know you can easily go grab them from here. So now I guess I'll just kind of demo, actually mix some tracks together. This is a good one. So keep going down a little bit. So right now that beat repeats off. I'll show you what that does. It's kind of fun. So right now I'm going to make it happen every quarter note. So it just kind of does like really goofy things. And this is all just really just up to you to find the settings that work best for you. I don't usually use beat repeat a whole lot actually. So when you have when the end of the phrase is coming up and you want to start it, you just start the next track whatever you want. So I have my cue point set up right here to start from 17. Oh, I missed it. Let me try that again. So you can see Ableton started that completely on time. And then I'm going to take out the lows on this. Make sure the lows are on over here. And then cross. And there we go. It's a really basic transition. But you can do it in Ableton Live. There's a lot of crazy stuff you can do after you kind of get the hang of this system. I definitely recommend doubling up your decks with this. In which case, if you do that and you're using a MIDI controller, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to assign the same MIDI knob twice. So you go to first deck A, click that, assign that knob, go to the other one, and do the same thing on the same knob. So that's generally just controlling, they're acting both as one, really is the idea of that. And this is generally something that I use. I'll just open an example set. So yeah, I just kind of get filled with tracks here. I use a few varied effects. This super looper is really great. That lets you just, it's like a beat repeat on steroids. It works a lot better for DJing. So you can have a track on and say it's at one bar right now. And that's just going to repeat the last one bar. So that's fun. Yeah. So definitely try this out. It gets to be a lot of fun. And definitely don't just stay with the knowledge that I've given you in this video. Definitely branch out and kind of make it your own, because this is just my process that I found to be pretty good for DJing Ableton Live. Thanks, and check out the next video when it comes out. Peace.